This audiobook will reveal the one mental shift that separates those who crumble under pressure from those who rise above it. And what you're about to discover goes against everything society has taught you about success. Most people think winning means controlling everything around them. They chase money, status, and approval from others, believing these things will bring them peace. But here's the truth nobody talks about. The real battle isn't out there in the world. It's happening right now, inside your mind. Every single day, your thoughts are either building you up or tearing you down, and the quality of your life depends entirely on which side wins. Today, you're going to learn how to train your mind to become unshakable, not through wishful thinking or positive affirmations, but through ancient wisdom that has stood the test of thousands of years. Look around you. Everyone is stressed, anxious, and overwhelmed. People are working harder than ever, yet they feel more empty than before. Why? Because they've been trained to seek happiness in all the wrong places. They believe success comes from external achievements. Get the promotion, buy the house, find the perfect partner, and then, maybe then, they'll finally be happy. But it never works that way, does it? You reach one goal, feel good for a moment, and then the emptiness returns. You start chasing the next thing, and the cycle continues. The real problem is this: we've lost control of our own minds. We react to everything. Someone criticizes us and we spend days feeling hurt. We don't get what we want and we fall into despair. We see others succeeding and we feel jealous. Our minds have become like wild horses, pulling us in every direction except the one we actually want to go. And this lack of mental discipline is destroying our potential. Think about it. How many times have you sabotaged yourself? How many opportunities did you miss because fear held you back? How many relationships did you damage because you couldn't control your emotions? How much time have you wasted worrying about things that never even happened? This is the cost of an untrained mind. And until you fix this, nothing else will matter. The fortress of your mind is like a fortress. Right now, the gates are wide open and everything is coming in. Other people's opinions, negative news, toxic thoughts, doubt, fear. All of it is flooding your mental space and setting up camp there. And you're wondering why you feel so heavy, so tired, so defeated. Here's what you need to understand. You are the guardian of your mind. Nothing enters without your permission. But most people don't realize this. They let anyone and anything occupy their mental space. A stranger on the internet says something mean and it ruins their entire day. A coworker makes a passive-aggressive comment and they can't stop thinking about it for weeks. Someone posts a picture of their perfect life on social media, and suddenly you feel like your own life isn't good enough. This is what happens when you leave the gates of your fortress unguarded. The first step to winning every battle is building strong walls around your mind. This means becoming extremely selective about what you allow in. Stop consuming content that makes you feel worse about yourself. Stop spending time with people who drain your energy. Stop entertaining thoughts that don't serve your growth. This isn't about being cold or closed off from the world. It's about being intentional. It's about understanding that your mental space is sacred ground and not everyone deserves access to it. Think about your mind like a garden. If you let weeds grow everywhere, they'll choke out the flowers. If you let pests run wild, they'll destroy everything you've planted. But if you tend to your garden carefully, if you pull out the weeds and protect it from harm, it will flourish. Your mind works the same way. The thoughts you water are the ones that grow. The ideas you feed are the ones that become strong. So why would you feed negativity? Why would you water doubt and fear? When a negative thought appears, don't fight it. Don't try to push it away. Just observe it. Look at it like you're watching a cloud pass by in the sky. Acknowledge it exists, but don't invite it to stay for dinner. This is how you start taking back control. Most people are slaves to their thoughts. They think because a thought appears in their head, they must believe it, must act on it, must let it define them. But that's not true. A thought is just a thought. It's not a fact. It's not a command. It's just mental noise, and you get to decide how much attention you give it. You are not your thoughts. You are the awareness behind the thoughts. And once you realize this, everything changes. You stop being reactive and start being responsive. You stop being a victim of your mind and start being its master. This is one of the most powerful shifts you can make in your entire life. Because when you understand that you are separate from your thoughts, you realize you have a choice. You can choose which thoughts to engage with and which ones to let pass by. Let me give you an example. Let's say you're trying to start a new project, maybe a business or a creative work, and a thought pops into your head. You're not good enough to do this. You're going to fail. Now, most people hear this thought and immediately believe it. They take it as truth. They let it stop them from even trying. But when you understand that you are not your thoughts, you can look at that thought objectively. You can say, "Oh, that's just fear talking. That's just my brain trying to keep me safe by avoiding risk." And then you can choose to act anyway, despite the thought. This doesn't mean the thought disappears. It might still be there, whispering in the background, but it no longer has power over you. You've taken away its ability to control your actions. And this is what building a fortress means. It means creating enough distance between you and your thoughts that they can't push you around anymore. But here's the thing most people miss. Building this fortress isn't a one-time event. It's not like you build it once and then you're done forever. You have to maintain it. Every single day you have to check the walls. Every single day you have to stand guard at the gates, because the world will keep trying to get in. Other people will keep projecting their fears onto you. The media will keep bombarding you with messages designed to make you feel inadequate. Your own mind will keep generating doubts and worries. This is constant. This is the nature of being human. So you need a daily practice. You need rituals that help you strengthen your mental walls. Maybe it's starting your morning in silence before you check your phone or talk to anyone. Maybe it's ending your day by writing down your thoughts, getting them out of your head and onto paper where you can look at them clearly. Maybe it's taking regular breaks from social media, from news, from anything that disturbs your peace. Find what works for you and do it consistently. And here's something else that's crucial. You need to be careful about who you let into your inner circle, because the people closest to you have the most access to your mind. They can build you up or tear you down. They can reinforce your strength or plant seeds of doubt. So choose wisely. Spend time with people who challenge you to grow, not people who keep you small. Spend time with people who believe in possibilities, not people who only see limitations. Spend time with people who celebrate your wins, not people who secretly hope you fail. This might mean distancing yourself from certain people, even family members or old friends. And that's hard. It feels wrong. But remember, you're not being mean. You're being protective of your mental space. You're honoring the fact that your mind is the foundation of everything else in your life. If your mind is weak, everything else crumbles. But if your mind is strong, you can build anything. Also, understand that guarding your mind doesn't mean ignoring reality or living in denial. You're not trying to only think positive thoughts and pretend problems don't exist. That's toxic positivity, and it doesn't work. What you're doing is different. You're acknowledging reality, but you're not letting it set up permanent residence in your head. You're seeing problems clearly, but you're not obsessing over them. You're aware of challenges, but you're focused on solutions instead of drowning in worry. The fortress of your mind is your first line of defense against everything life throws at you. When you have strong mental walls, external circumstances lose their power to destroy you. Someone can insult you, but it bounces off the walls. You can fail at something, but it doesn't define you. You can go through loss, but it doesn't break you. Because inside your fortress, you know who you are. You know your worth, you know your purpose, and no external event can shake that foundation. The power of perspective. Everything that happens to you is neutral. Nothing is inherently good or bad until you assign it meaning. This might sound impossible to believe, especially when you're going through something painful, but it's the absolute truth. And when you really understand this, when you internalize it at a deep level, it becomes your greatest source of power. Imagine two people lose their jobs on the same day. One person falls into deep depression, believing their life is over. They see themselves as a failure. They worry about what others will think. They spend weeks in bed, unable to move forward. The other person sees it as an opportunity to finally start that business they've been dreaming about. They feel scared, sure, but also excited. They use their severance pay to invest in themselves. Same event, completely different outcomes. The difference isn't what happened to them. The difference is the meaning they gave to what happened. This is the most powerful tool you have, the ability to choose your perspective. You can't control what happens to you, but you can control how you interpret it, and that interpretation determines everything. Every obstacle can be viewed as a disaster or as a teacher. Every setback can be seen as a failure or as feedback. Every difficult person in your life can be seen as an enemy or as training for your patience and understanding. The event itself is just an event. You are the one who decides what it means. The people who win in life aren't the ones who avoid problems. They're the ones who see problems differently. They ask better questions. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" they ask, "What is this teaching me?" Instead of complaining about how hard things are, they ask, "How is this making me stronger?" This isn't just positive thinking. This is a fundamental shift in how you engage with reality, and it changes everything. Let me tell you something that most people never realize. Your perspective creates your reality more than the actual facts do. Two people can go through the exact same experience and walk away with completely different lives because of how they chose to interpret what happened. One person gets rejected and decides they are unlovable. Another person gets rejected and decides they're one step closer to finding the right match. One person faces a health challenge and becomes bitter. Another person faces the same challenge and becomes grateful for every moment they have. The facts are the same. The perspective is different, and the perspective is what shapes their future. This shift in perspective doesn't come naturally. Your brain is wired to focus on threats and problems. That's how it kept your ancestors alive. When you lived in a world with predators and constant danger, focusing on what could go wrong was a survival skill. But in the modern world, this wiring is working against you. You're not running from lions anymore. You're sitting in safety, but your brain is still scanning for danger. It finds problems that don't exist yet. It creates worst-case scenarios. It magnifies small issues into catastrophes. And if you don't take control of this, it will ruin your life. You have to consciously train yourself to reframe situations. And when you do this consistently, you'll notice something incredible. The same situations that used to crush you now barely affect you. Traffic used to make you furious. Now you see it as time to listen to music or think. Criticism used to devastate you. Now you see it as information that might help you improve. Failure used to feel like the end. Now you see it as data showing you what doesn't work so you can try something else. But here's what most people get wrong when they try to change their perspective. They think it's about lying to themselves. They think it's about pretending bad things are good. That's not it at all. It's about finding the truth in every situation. And the truth is that every situation contains multiple possibilities. When something bad happens, it's true that it's painful. It's true that it's not what you wanted. But it's also true that it contains lessons. It's also true that it might redirect you towards something better. It's also true that it will make you stronger if you let it. All of these things are true at the same time. You just get to choose which truth you focus on. Think about the hardest thing you've ever been through. Maybe it was a breakup, a loss, a failure, a betrayal. In the moment, it probably felt like the worst thing that could ever happen to you. But now, looking back, can you see any good that came from it? Did it teach you something important? Did it push you to change something that needed changing? Did it show you who your real friends are? Did it make you more compassionate? Most people, when they are honest, can find something valuable that came from their worst experiences. Not because the experience was good, but because they extracted meaning from it. This is what changing your perspective means. It means mining every experience for its value. It means refusing to be just a victim of circumstances. It means being an active participant in creating meaning from your life. And when you do this, you become unstoppable because nothing can defeat you. Every win makes you stronger, obviously. But every loss also makes you stronger because you know how to learn from it. Now, I want to be clear about something. Changing your perspective doesn't mean you never feel pain or sadness or anger. Those emotions are real and valid. You don't bypass them. You don't pretend they're not there. You feel them fully, but you don't let them define the entire experience. You don't let them write the final chapter of the story. You feel the pain and then you ask, what now? Where do I go from here? What can I take from this? The spiritual dimension of perspective is understanding that there's a bigger picture you can't always see. Sometimes things need to fall apart so better things can come together. Sometimes you need to lose what you have so you can find what you actually need. Sometimes the detour is the path. You can't see this in the moment. You can only see it looking back. But if you trust this process, if you believe that even the painful moments serve a purpose, you can move through them with grace instead of bitterness. Your perspective also affects how other people see you and treat you. When you carry yourself like a victim, people treat you like one. When you carry yourself like someone who's learning and growing from challenges, people respect that. Your energy shifts, your presence shifts, and opportunities start showing up that wouldn't have appeared if you were stuck in a victim mindset. So practice this daily. When something happens that you don't like, pause before you react. Ask yourself, what else could this mean? What's another way to look at this? What opportunity might be hidden here? Train your brain to automatically search for the empowering perspective instead of the disempowering one. And over time, this becomes your default mode. You become someone who sees possibilities where others see dead ends. You become someone who finds paths where others see walls. Accepting what you cannot change, here's a hard truth. Most of the things you stress about are completely outside your control. The weather, the economy, other people's opinions, the past, the future. You have zero power over these things, yet you spend most of your mental energy worrying about them. You lie awake at night thinking about them. You create elaborate plans to try to influence them. You exhaust yourself trying to force outcomes that aren't yours to force. This is like trying to hold back the ocean with your hands. It's exhausting, pointless, and it destroys your peace. The wise person knows the difference between what they can control and what they can't, and they pour all their energy into the things they actually have power over. This sounds simple, but it's one of the hardest lessons to learn, because accepting what you can't control feels like giving up. It feels like weakness, but it's actually the opposite. What can you control? Your thoughts, your actions, your reactions, your effort, your attitude. That's it. That's your domain. And when you focus exclusively on this domain, your life transforms. Because suddenly, all that energy you were wasting on things outside your control is now available to create real change in the areas where you do have power. Stop trying to control how people see you. You can't. You can be the kindest person in the world and someone will still think you're fake. You can be the most successful person in the room and someone will still think you're lucky or undeserving. You can be completely honest and someone will still think you're lying. This isn't about you. It's about them, their wounds, their perspective, their issues. And you cannot fix that. You cannot control it. So stop trying. Stop trying to control outcomes. You can't. You can work hard, make smart decisions, do everything right, and still not get the result you want. Because outcomes depend on thousands of variables, most of which are outside your influence. Timing, other people's choices, random chance, things you don't even know exist. You can control your effort. You can control your preparation, but you cannot guarantee the outcome. And when you try to, you set yourself up for constant disappointment and frustration. Stop trying to make everyone like you. You can't. There are people who will dislike you for reasons that have nothing to do with who you actually are. Maybe you remind them of someone who hurt them. Maybe they are jealous of something you have. Maybe they just don't vibe with your energy, and that's okay. You don't need everyone to like you. You need to like yourself. You need to respect yourself, and you need to focus on building genuine connections with people who actually see you and appreciate you. The rest doesn't matter. All of these attempts to control the uncontrollable are stealing your power, and giving it away to things that don't deserve it. Every minute you spend worrying about what someone thinks of you is a minute you're not spending on becoming better. Every ounce of energy you put into forcing an outcome is energy you're not putting into doing the work that actually matters. This is a terrible trade, and most people make it their entire lives without realizing it. Acceptance doesn't mean giving up. It doesn't mean being passive or lazy. It means recognizing reality as it is, not as you wish it were. It means stopping the fight against things you cannot change so you can redirect that energy toward things you can change. This is incredibly freeing. When you stop fighting reality, you stop suffering. You might still feel pain, but the suffering that comes from resistance goes away. When something bad happens, most people waste weeks or months resisting it. They replay it in their minds, wishing it had gone differently. They complain about how unfair it is. They tell the story over and over to anyone who will listen. They stay stuck in that moment, reliving it constantly. But the situation isn't keeping them stuck. Their refusal to accept it is keeping them stuck. The event already happened. It's done. It's in the past. But they keep dragging it into the present by refusing to let it be what it is. The moment you truly accept something, you free yourself to move forward. Acceptance is not weakness. It's the foundation of strength. Because when you stop wasting energy on what you can't control, you become unstoppable in the areas where you do have control. Think about it. How much energy do you spend fighting reality? How much better could your life be if you redirected all that energy into building something new? This applies to big things and small things. Accept that it's raining instead of complaining about it. Accept that traffic is slow instead of raging about it. Accept that someone canceled plans instead of taking it personally. Accept that you made a mistake instead of beating yourself up for days. Accept that someone doesn't love you back instead of trying to convince them. Accept that you didn't get the job instead of spiraling into self-doubt. None of this means you wanted these things to happen. It just means you acknowledge they did happen, and you're choosing to deal with what is instead of what you wish was. The spiritual aspect of acceptance is surrender. Not surrender in defeat, but surrender to a higher wisdom. Surrender to the understanding that you don't know the full picture. Surrender to the possibility that what seems bad right now might lead to something good later. Surrender to the flow of life instead of constantly swimming against the current. This takes faith. Not necessarily religious faith, but faith that life has a way of working out even when you can't see how. When you accept what you cannot change, you also accept yourself more fully. You stop fighting against your own nature. You stop trying to be someone you're not. You stop comparing yourself to others and wishing you had their gifts. You work with what you have instead of resenting what you don't have. And paradoxically, this is when you start growing faster. Because you're not wasting energy on self-rejection anymore. You're using that energy to actually improve. Acceptance also brings peace. Deep, lasting peace. Not the temporary peace that comes from getting what you want, but the unshakable peace that comes from being okay with whatever comes. This is the peace that survives loss, failure, rejection, and hardship. This is the peace that makes you truly free. Because when you need nothing from the external world to be okay, you're no longer at the mercy of circumstances. You're stable, you're grounded, you're home within yourself. The discipline of daily practice, you don't build mental strength in one day. You build it through small, consistent actions repeated over time. Just like you can't go to the gym once and expect to be fit forever, you can't read one book or watch one video and expect your mind to be trained forever. Mental strength is like a muscle. It needs constant training, constant attention, constant work. And the only way to build it is through daily practice. Mental discipline is a daily practice. Every morning, you wake up and face a choice. Will you take control of your mind today, or will you let it run wild? Most people choose the second option without even realizing it. They grab their phone within seconds of waking up and immediately flood their mind with other people's thoughts, problems, and drama. They start the day reactive instead of proactive. They let the outside world set the tone for their inner world. And then they wonder why they feel anxious, scattered, and overwhelmed before they even get out of bed. Here's what the daily practice looks like. You wake up, and before you do anything else, you spend a few minutes in silence. Not scrolling, not checking messages, just sitting with yourself. You think about the kind of person you want to be today. You remind yourself of your values. You prepare your mind for the challenges ahead. This might sound simple, maybe even too simple to matter, but this is where everything begins. These first few minutes of your day set the foundation for everything that follows. Think about it. If the first thing you do is check your phone, you're immediately putting yourself in reaction mode. You're letting other people's priorities become your priorities. You're absorbing other people's energy before you've even connected with your own. But if you start your day in silence, in stillness, in intentional thought, you're taking control. You're deciding who you want to be before the world tells you who to be. Throughout the day, you catch yourself when you're slipping into old patterns. You notice when you're complaining, when you're blaming, when you're making excuses, and you gently redirect yourself. You don't judge yourself harshly. You just acknowledge the slip and make a better choice. This is crucial. Most people think discipline means being hard on yourself, punishing yourself for mistakes, forcing yourself through willpower alone. But that's not sustainable. Real discipline is gentle but firm. It's observing yourself without judgment and choosing better again and again. Let's say you catch yourself complaining about traffic. Old you would just keep complaining, getting more and more frustrated, ruining your mood. New you notices the complaint, acknowledges it, and chooses a different response. Maybe you put on music you love. Maybe you use the time to think through a problem you're working on. Maybe you just accept that traffic is part of life and let it be. The specific response doesn't matter as much as the fact that you noticed and chose. That's the practice. That's the discipline. At night before you sleep, you review your day. You ask yourself, did I live according to my values today? Where did I do well? Where can I improve tomorrow? This simple reflection keeps you on track and helps you grow continuously. Most people never do this. They just let days blur into weeks, weeks into months, months into years, and they wake up one day wondering where the time went and why they haven't changed. But when you review your day every night, you stay conscious. You stay aware. You keep learning and adjusting. The people who achieve extraordinary things aren't more talented or lucky than you. They just have better daily habits. They show up every single day and do the work, even when they don't feel like it, especially when they don't feel like it. This is the secret that nobody wants to hear because it's not exciting or sexy. There's no hack, no shortcut, no magic formula. It's just showing up day after day, doing the work that needs to be done. You want to write a book. Write every day, even if it's just for 15 minutes. You want to get in shape. Move your body every day, even if it's just a walk around the block. You want to build mental strength. Practice observing your thoughts every day. Practice choosing your perspective every day. Practice acceptance every day. The dailiness of it is what makes it work. Because you're not just doing something once and hoping it sticks. You're rewiring your brain through repetition. Motivation is unreliable. It comes and goes like the weather. Some days you wake up fired up and ready to conquer the world. Other days you can barely get out of bed. If you rely on motivation, you'll only make progress on the good days. And that's not enough. Discipline is what you need. Discipline is doing what needs to be done regardless of how you feel. And discipline is built through repetition. Every time you choose discipline over comfort, you're strengthening that muscle. Every time you choose comfort over discipline, you're weakening it. Here's what most people don't understand. The days when you don't feel like doing the work are the most important days to do it, because that's when you're actually building discipline. When you feel motivated, it's easy to take action. That doesn't require discipline. But when you feel tired, unmotivated, distracted, and you do the work anyway, that's when the real growth happens. That's when you're proving to yourself that you're in control, not your feelings. Think about the compound effect of daily practice. If you improve just 1% every day, you're not just 1% better at the end of the year. You're 37 times better, because improvement compounds. But it only compounds if you're consistent. If you work hard for a week and then quit for a month, you don't get the compound effect. You get a cycle of starting and stopping that leads nowhere. Your daily practice doesn't have to be complicated or time-consuming. In fact, it's better if it's simple, because simple is sustainable. Maybe your practice is 5 minutes of silence in the morning, catching yourself 3 times during the day when you're slipping into negativity, and 5 minutes of reflection at night. That's 15 minutes total. Anyone can find 15 minutes, but those 15 minutes, done every single day for a year, will transform your life more than reading 100 books or watching 1,000 videos. The key is consistency, not intensity. It's better to meditate for 5 minutes every day than to meditate for an hour once a week. It's better to write 1 page every day than to write 20 pages once a month. Because daily practice builds momentum. It builds identity. When you do something every day, it becomes part of who you are. You're not someone who tries to be disciplined sometimes. You're a disciplined person, and that identity shift changes everything. Also, your daily practice needs to evolve as you grow. What works for you now might not work for you in 6 months. Stay flexible. Pay attention to what's actually helping you and what's just becoming routine without purpose. The point isn't to check boxes. The point is to actually grow, to actually strengthen your mind, to actually become the person you want to be. And here's something important. You will mess up. You will have days where you don't do your practice. You will have weeks where you fall back into old patterns. This is normal. This is part of being human. The difference between people who succeed and people who don't isn't that successful people never fail. It's that they get back on track faster. When you miss a day, don't spiral into guilt and self-criticism. Don't use it as an excuse to quit entirely. Just notice it, accept it, and start again the next day. The practice isn't about perfection. It's about direction. As long as you keep coming back, you're moving forward. Your environment matters too. Make your daily practice as easy as possible to do. If you want to meditate in the morning, set up a space where you can do it comfortably. If you want to exercise, lay out your workout clothes the night before. If you want to read, keep a book on your nightstand. Remove friction. Because on the days when your willpower is low, you need your environment to support you, not work against you. Finally, remember why you're doing this. Your daily practice isn't just about self-improvement for its own sake. It's about building the mental strength you need to handle whatever life throws at you. It's about becoming someone who doesn't crumble under pressure. It's about training your mind so that when the real battles come, you're ready, and they will come. Life will test you. But if you've been practicing every day, building that mental muscle, you'll be able to face those tests with strength and clarity instead of fear and chaos. The truth about suffering, everyone suffers. Rich, poor, famous, unknown. Everyone faces pain, loss, and hardship. The difference between people isn't whether they suffer. It's how they relate to their suffering. And this relationship with suffering is what determines whether it destroys you or transforms you. Most people resist suffering. They think they shouldn't have to go through hard things. They believe that if life were fair, they wouldn't face these challenges. So when pain comes, they fight against it, they complain about it, they ask, why me? And this resistance makes the suffering so much worse. Because now they're not just dealing with the pain of the situation. They're also dealing with the pain of resistance, the pain of feeling like a victim, the pain of believing that they're being singled out for punishment. There's a saying, pain is inevitable, but suffering is optional. Pain is what happens to you. Suffering is what you add to it through your thoughts and resistance. When you lose someone you love, the pain of that loss is real and natural. That pain is unavoidable. It's part of being human, part of loving deeply. But the suffering comes from thoughts like, I'll never be happy again, or this shouldn't have happened, or I can't go on without them. These thoughts take the pain and multiply it, stretch it out, make it unbearable. The truth is that every difficult experience you go through is making you stronger, wiser, and more capable. But only if you let it. Only if you stop resisting and start learning. Every person you admire, every person who has achieved something meaningful has been through hell. They've faced rejection, failure, loss, betrayal. But they didn't let those experiences break them. They let those experiences forge them into who they needed to become. The fire didn't destroy them, it refined them. When you're in the middle of something painful, it's hard to see this. Your whole world feels dark. You can't imagine how you'll get through it. You can't imagine that anything good could come from it. And in that moment, you don't need to. You don't need to see the lesson while you're in the pain. You just need to keep breathing, keep moving forward, keep trusting that you will survive this. But time reveals the truth. Years later, you look back and realize that the thing you thought would destroy you actually saved you. It pushed you out of a comfortable but dead-end situation. It taught you who you really are. It showed you what you're capable of enduring. This doesn't mean you should seek out suffering or that you should enjoy pain. It means you should stop adding unnecessary suffering to the inevitable pain of life. It means you should trust that even the hardest moments are serving a purpose in your growth. There's a spiritual dimension to this. Sometimes the universe needs to break you down to rebuild you stronger. Sometimes you need to lose what you have to make room for what you need. Sometimes the path to where you want to go requires walking through hell first. Think about a caterpillar becoming a butterfly. Inside the cocoon, the caterpillar completely dissolves. It becomes liquid. If you didn't know what was happening, you'd think it was dying. You'd think it was the end. But it's not death. It's transformation. The caterpillar has to completely break down to become something new, and your suffering works the same way sometimes. It's not destroying you. It's transforming you, but you can't see that from the inside. You just have to trust the process. Here's what happens when you stop resisting suffering and start accepting it. First, the pain becomes more bearable. When you stop fighting against it, when you stop asking why it's happening and just acknowledge that it is happening, some of the intensity fades. You're no longer adding your resistance to the pain. You're just experiencing the pain itself, which is hard enough but manageable. Second, you start to see the lessons. When you're not consumed by resistance and self-pity, you can actually observe what's happening. You can ask useful questions like, what is this teaching me? Or, how do I need to grow to handle this better? Or, what patterns am I seeing that I need to change? The suffering becomes your teacher instead of your enemy. Third, you develop compassion, both for yourself and for others. When you go through something hard and come out the other side, you understand suffering in a deeper way. You understand that everyone is fighting battles you can't see. You become less judgmental, more patient, more kind, because you know what it's like to hurt. And fourth, you become unbreakable. Not in the sense that nothing will ever hurt you again, but in the sense that you know you can survive anything, because you already have. You've been through the fire and you're still here. And that knowledge gives you a kind of confidence that nothing else can give you. You stop being afraid of life because you know that even if the worst happens, you'll handle it. But let me be clear about something. Accepting suffering doesn't mean staying in bad situations. It doesn't mean tolerating abuse or neglect or mistreatment. It doesn't mean you shouldn't try to improve your circumstances. Acceptance is about your internal response to pain, not about passive acceptance of harmful situations. You can accept that you're in pain right now while also taking steps to change what's causing the pain. Also, suffering often reveals what matters. When everything is going well, it's easy to get distracted by things that don't really matter. You worry about status, about what people think, about accumulating more stuff. But when you're suffering, all of that falls away. You realize what's actually important. Your health, your relationships, your purpose, your peace. Suffering has a way of clarifying what's real and what's just noise. The people who never suffer, who never face real challenges, they often remain shallow. Not because they're bad people, but because they've never been forced to go deep. They've never had to confront who they really are. They've never had to find strength they didn't know they had. In a strange way, suffering is a gift. Not a gift you would choose, but a gift nonetheless. Because it makes you more human, more real, more alive. Think about the stories that move you, the people you respect most. They're never stories of people who had everything easy. They're stories of people who faced incredible odds and overcame them. Stories of people who lost everything and rebuilt. Stories of people who suffered deeply and found meaning in that suffering. Because that's what inspires us. That's what shows us what's possible. Easy lives don't teach us anything. Hard lives, navigated with grace and wisdom, teach us everything. So when you're suffering, remember this. You're not being punished. You're not unlucky. You're not a victim. You're in the process of becoming something more than you were. And yes, it hurts. Yes, it's hard. Yes, you wish it weren't happening, but it is happening. And your job isn't to avoid it or resist it. Your job is to move through it with as much courage and grace as you can manage. Some days that might mean just getting out of bed. Other days it might mean finding small moments of joy despite the pain. There's no right way to suffer. There's just your way. And whatever that looks like, it's enough. Winning through inner peace society tells you that winning means defeating others, being richer, more successful, more attractive, more accomplished than the people around you. But this kind of winning is hollow, because no matter how much you achieve externally, if you don't have peace internally, you're still losing. You're still restless, still anxious, still feeling like something's missing. You might have everything the world says you should want, but you're empty inside. Real victory is inner peace. It's being able to lay your head down at night with a clear conscience. It's being content with who you are while still working to improve. It's not being shaken by criticism or inflated by praise. It's moving through life with a calm center, regardless of what's happening around you. This is the kind of winning that actually matters. This is the kind of success that fills you up instead of leaving you wanting more. Most people spend their whole lives chasing things they think will bring them peace. They believe that once they reach a certain level of success or wealth or recognition, then they'll finally feel calm and satisfied. But that day never comes, because peace isn't something you find at the end of achievement. Peace is something you cultivate right now in this moment, regardless of your circumstances. You can have peace with nothing, or you can have everything and still be at war with yourself. Peace is an inside job. How do you cultivate it? By letting go of the need to control everything. By accepting yourself fully, including your flaws and mistakes. By releasing grudges and resentment toward people who wronged you. By simplifying your life and removing the things that don't truly matter. By spending time in silence and stillness, away from the constant noise and stimulation. These aren't complicated practices, but they require commitment. They require you to go against what society is constantly telling you to do. Society says accumulate more. Peace says simplify. Society says prove yourself. Peace says accept yourself. Society says never forgive. Peace says let it go. Society says stay busy. Peace says be still. Every step toward peace is a step away from what the crowd is doing. And that's hard, because humans are social creatures. We want to fit in. We want to do what everyone else is doing. But if you want peace, you have to be willing to walk a different path. Peace isn't passive. It's not about avoiding challenges or hiding from the world. It's about having such a strong foundation inside yourself that nothing external can knock you off balance. It's about knowing who you are so deeply that other people's opinions can't define you. Think about a tree with deep roots. A storm might shake its branches, might even break a few, but it doesn't uproot the tree. That's what inner peace gives you. Deep roots that keep you grounded no matter what storms come. When you have this kind of peace, you become incredibly powerful. Not in a loud or aggressive way, but in a quiet, unshakable way. You stop needing to prove yourself. You stop competing with others. You focus on your own path and run your own race. And paradoxically, this is when you start winning in ways you never imagined, because you're no longer scattered. You're no longer wasting energy on things that don't matter. All your power is concentrated on what actually moves your life forward. People can feel this energy. When you're at peace, you have a presence that attracts opportunities, relationships, and experiences. When you're anxious and desperate, you repel those same things. It's not magic. It's just that peace allows you to show up as your best self. You make better decisions because you're not driven by fear or ego. You build better relationships because you're not needy or controlling. You create better work because you're not rushing or forcing. Everything improves when you have peace as your foundation. But here's what stops most people from finding peace. They think they don't deserve it yet. They think they have to earn it through achievement. They think they have to wait until everything in their life is perfect. So they keep pushing, keep striving, keep exhausting themselves, believing that peace is waiting for them at some finish line. But there is no finish line. There's just this moment, and then the next one, and then the next one. And if you can't find peace in this moment, you won't find it in any future moment either. Peace also requires you to let go of the past. You can't be at peace while carrying resentment, regret, or shame. These things are heavy. They drain your energy. They keep you stuck in moments that are already gone. Forgiveness, both of yourself and others, is essential for peace. Not because the people who hurt you deserve forgiveness, but because you deserve peace. And you can't have both. You can't hold onto grudges and feel peaceful. You have to choose. The same goes for worry about the future. You can't be at peace while constantly anxious about what might happen. Yes, you should plan. Yes, you should prepare. But worrying isn't planning. Worrying is just suffering in advance for things that might never happen. Most of what you worry about never comes true. And the things that do happen are usually not as bad as you imagined. So why sacrifice your peace now for imaginary futures? Inner peace also means being okay with uncertainty. Life is uncertain. You don't know what tomorrow will bring. You don't know how things will turn out, and that's okay. You don't need to know. You just need to trust that you'll handle whatever comes. When you try to eliminate all uncertainty, you eliminate all peace. Because uncertainty is part of life. Fighting against it is fighting against reality, and you can't win that fight. Think about what peace would change in your life. How would you show up differently in your relationships if you weren't anxious about being judged or abandoned? How would you approach your work if you weren't driven by fear of failure or desperate need for validation? How would you treat yourself if you weren't constantly criticizing and comparing? Peace changes everything. Not by changing your external circumstances, but by changing your relationship with those circumstances. The spiritual dimension of peace is understanding that you're already whole. You don't need anything added to you to be complete. You're not broken. You're not lacking. You're already enough exactly as you are. This doesn't mean you stop growing. It means you grow from a place of wholeness instead of a place of lack. You improve because you want to express your potential, not because you're trying to fix something wrong with you. When you truly understand this, when you feel it in your bones, peace becomes natural. It's not something you have to work hard to maintain. It's your default state. Things might disturb it temporarily, but you always return to it. Like a pond that gets ripples when a stone is thrown in, but quickly becomes still again. That's inner peace. Not the absence of disturbance, but the ability to return to stillness. The spiritual dimension of strength, there's something beyond the mind, beyond your thoughts and emotions and personality. Call it your soul, your spirit, your true self. This is the part of you that's connected to something greater than yourself. And when you tap into this dimension, you access a source of strength that never runs dry. This isn't about religion, though it can include that if you want it to. This is about recognizing that there's more to you than just your physical body and your racing thoughts. There's a deeper part of you that knows things your mind doesn't know, that sees things your eyes can't see, that can carry you through situations your logical brain says are impossible. Think about the times in your life when you felt most alive, most connected, most at peace. Chances are, those were moments when you weren't thinking about yourself at all. Maybe you were in nature, witnessing something beautiful. Maybe you were helping someone in need. Maybe you were creating something meaningful. In those moments, your ego stepped aside and something deeper came through. You weren't worried about how you looked or what people thought or whether you were good enough. You were just present, just connected, just being. And in those moments, you probably felt more like yourself than you do most of the time. This is the spiritual dimension. It's always available to you, but you have to quiet down enough to access it. Most people are so busy, so distracted, so consumed with their problems that they never touch this part of themselves. They live entirely in the surface level of existence, reacting to circumstances, chasing temporary pleasures, avoiding temporary pains. They go through their whole lives without ever discovering the deeper well of strength that's inside them. And this is tragic because that strength is exactly what they need to handle the challenges they're facing. But when you connect to the spiritual dimension, everything changes. You realize that you're not just this small, limited person struggling through life. You're part of something vast and eternal. Your problems don't disappear, but they become smaller in perspective. Your fears don't go away, but they lose their power over you. Because when you're connected to something bigger than yourself, the little things that used to consume you just don't hit the same way anymore. You're operating from a different level. How do you connect to this dimension? Through practices that quiet the mind and open the heart. Meditation, prayer, time in nature, acts of service, creative expression, deep connection with others. These aren't just nice activities. They're how you access your deepest source of power and wisdom. When you meditate, you're not just relaxing. You're creating space between yourself and your thoughts. You're remembering that you're the awareness, not the thoughts. And in that space, you can hear something deeper, something wiser, something that knows what you need even when your conscious mind is confused. When you spend time in nature, you're reminded that you're part of a larger system. You see how everything is connected, how everything has its place, how there's an intelligence at work that's beyond human understanding. A tree doesn't worry about whether it's good enough. It just grows. A river doesn't stress about finding its path. It just flows. And when you spend time observing nature, you start to remember that you can do the same. You can trust the process. You can let go of the constant need to control and just allow life to move through you. When you help someone in need, when you give without expecting anything back, you tap into something sacred. You remember that we're all connected, that your well-being is tied to the well-being of others, that the highest version of yourself is the one that serves. And in that service, you find strength. Not the strength that comes from dominating or winning, but the strength that comes from love, from compassion, from recognizing the divine in others and in yourself. When you create something meaningful, whether it's art or music or writing or building something with your hands, you're channeling something beyond your everyday self. You're accessing inspiration, which literally means to be filled with spirit. And when you're in that flow state, creating from that deeper place, you feel alive in a way that nothing else can match. Time disappears. Self-consciousness disappears. All that exists is you and the creative force moving through you. When you face a battle, whether it's external or internal, you don't have to face it alone. You can draw on this spiritual strength. You can remember that you're more than your current circumstances. You can trust that there's a larger plan at work, even when you can't see it. This isn't about blind faith or denying reality. It's about recognizing that there are dimensions of reality beyond what your physical eyes can see. It's about understanding that what seems like a disaster right now might be exactly what needed to happen to get you where you need to go. Think about the concept of surrender. Not surrender as giving up, but surrender as letting go of the illusion that you're in total control. When you surrender to something greater than yourself, when you trust that there's a wisdom guiding your life that's beyond your understanding, you actually become stronger. Because you're no longer carrying the weight of trying to control everything. You're no longer exhausting yourself trying to force outcomes. You're working with life instead of against it. This spiritual dimension is also where you find meaning. And meaning is what makes suffering bearable. When you're disconnected from your spiritual self, suffering feels pointless. It's just pain for the sake of pain. But when you're connected, you can see that suffering is often the doorway to transformation. You can see that the things that break you open are the things that let the light in. You can see that every challenge is an opportunity to discover strength you didn't know you had. The spiritual dimension is also where you find your purpose. Not the purpose that society assigns to you, but the purpose that's unique to you, that's written in your soul. When you're quiet enough to listen, when you're brave enough to trust, that purpose reveals itself. And when you're living in alignment with your purpose, Everything flows differently. Challenges are still hard, but they feel meaningful. Setbacks are still painful, but they don't destroy you because you know why you're here. You know what you're meant to do, and that knowing gives you a foundation that nothing can shake. Here's something most people don't realize. Your spiritual strength doesn't depend on your circumstances. You can access it when you're on top of the world, and you can access it when you're at rock bottom. Actually, sometimes it's easier to access when you're at rock bottom, because that's when you're desperate enough to look beyond your usual resources. That's when you're humble enough to admit you can't do this alone. That's when you finally get quiet and listen to the wisdom that's been waiting for you all along. The practices that connect you to this dimension don't have to be complicated. You don't need special equipment or training. You just need willingness. Willingness to sit in silence for a few minutes every day. Willingness to notice beauty when it appears. Willingness to be kind to someone even when you don't have to be. Willingness to create, to express, to share what's inside you. These simple acts open the door, and once that door is open, the strength flows in. And here's the thing about spiritual strength. It doesn't run out. Mental strength can be depleted. Physical strength can be exhausted. But spiritual strength is connected to an infinite source. The more you draw on it, the more it flows. The more you give from that place, the more you receive. It's not a limited resource you have to hoard. It's an endless well you can drink from whenever you need it. You just have to remember it's there. You just have to take the time to connect. Becoming unbreakable, everything we've talked about comes together to create one thing, an unbreakable spirit. Not unbreakable in the sense that nothing will ever hurt you or knock you down, but unbreakable in the sense that no matter what happens, you will rise again. No matter how many times you fall, you will get back up. No matter how dark things get, you will find the light. This is what all the training has been building toward. This is the point of strengthening your mind, shifting your perspective, accepting reality, practicing daily discipline, learning from suffering, cultivating peace, and connecting to your spiritual dimension. All of it comes together to make you unbreakable. This kind of strength isn't given to you. You forge it through the fire of experience. Every challenge you face, every obstacle you overcome, every fear you move through despite being terrified, every moment you choose discipline over comfort, these are all adding to your strength. You're building something that no one can take away from you. Someone can take your money, your possessions, your position, your reputation, but they can't take who you've become through facing your challenges. They can't take the wisdom you've earned. They can't take the character you've built. That's yours forever. The world will test you. Life will throw things at you that seem impossible to handle. People will disappoint you, betray you, underestimate you. You will fail. You will lose things you love. You will face moments where giving up seems like the only option. This isn't pessimism. This is reality. If you live long enough, you will face all of these things. The question isn't whether you'll be tested. The question is whether you'll be ready when the tests come. But if you've trained your mind using these principles, you will not break. You'll bend, you'll struggle, you'll feel the weight, but you won't break. Because you'll have something that most people don't have. A trained mind, a clear perspective, and an unshakable inner foundation. You'll know how to separate what you can control from what you can't. You'll know how to find meaning in suffering. You'll know how to maintain peace in the midst of chaos. And these skills, these capabilities, they're what make you unbreakable. Think about what it means to be unbreakable in practical terms. It means when someone criticizes you harshly, you can hear it without being destroyed by it. You can evaluate whether there's truth in it worth considering and discard the rest. It means when you lose your job, you can grieve the loss without losing your sense of self-worth. You can see it as a transition, not an ending. It means when a relationship ends, you can feel the pain without believing you'll never love again. You can honor what was while staying open to what will be. Being unbreakable means you don't avoid difficult emotions. You feel them fully. You cry when you need to cry. You rage when you need to rage. You grieve when you need to grieve. But you don't get stuck there. You move through the emotions instead of being consumed by them. You let them pass through you like weather passes through the sky. They're intense while they're here, but they don't last forever. And you know this from experience, so you can trust it even in the darkest moments. Being unbreakable also means you're honest with yourself. You don't pretend to be fine when you're not. You don't hide your struggles behind a fake smile. You acknowledge when things are hard, but you also don't wallow in it. You don't make your struggles your identity. You're someone who's going through something hard, not someone who is broken. There's a huge difference. One keeps you in victim mode. The other keeps you in survivor mode, in warrior mode. And here's the beautiful part. As you become stronger, you'll naturally lift others up too. Your strength will inspire people around you. Your peace will calm those who are anxious. Your wisdom will guide those who are lost. You won't even have to try. It will just happen because of who you've become. People will sense something different about you. They'll feel safer around you because you're stable. They'll trust your advice because you've clearly walked through fire and come out the other side. They'll want what you have, which is not material success necessarily, but inner strength and peace. You become a light for others not by preaching or telling them what to do, but simply by being who you are. Your presence itself becomes a teaching. When someone sees you handle a crisis with calm, they learn that it's possible. When they see you bounce back from failure, they learn resilience. When they see you maintain your values even when it costs you, they learn integrity. You don't have to say a word. Your life speaks. But don't misunderstand. Becoming unbreakable doesn't mean you become hard or cold or disconnected. Actually, it's the opposite. When you're truly strong, you can afford to be soft. You can afford to be vulnerable. You can afford to love deeply and care intensely because you know that even if you get hurt, you'll survive it. Weak people have to protect themselves constantly. Strong people can be open because they're not afraid of pain. They know pain is part of life, and they know they can handle it. The journey of training your mind never ends. There's always another level, always another lesson, always room to grow. But that's what makes it beautiful. You're not trying to reach some final destination where everything is perfect. You're learning to find perfection in the journey itself. You're learning to enjoy the process of becoming, not just the moment of arriving, because arrival is an illusion anyway. There's no point where you've made it and can stop growing. Life keeps moving, keeps changing, keeps challenging you to evolve. So embrace this journey. Embrace the challenges because they're making you stronger. Embrace the pain because it's teaching you wisdom. Embrace the uncertainty because it's keeping you flexible. Embrace the discipline because it's building your character. Embrace the spiritual dimension because it's connecting you to infinite strength. And embrace becoming unbreakable, not as an end goal, but as a way of being that serves you and everyone around you. You are more capable than you know. You are stronger than you think. You have within you everything you need to face whatever comes. Not because you're special or chosen, but because you're human. And humans, when they decide to be, are absolutely unstoppable. The only question is whether you'll decide to be, whether you'll do the work, whether you'll train your mind, whether you'll keep getting back up no matter how many times you fall. That choice is yours, and that choice determines everything. So here's what it all comes down to. The battles you face in life aren't really about money, status, or success. They're about who you become in the process of facing them. They're about whether you let circumstances shape you or whether you shape yourself in response to circumstances. You now have the map. You understand that your mind is either your greatest weapon or your worst enemy, depending on how you train it. You know that perspective is everything, that acceptance is power, that discipline is freedom. You know that suffering can be transformed into strength and that true victory is inner peace. But knowledge without action is worthless. You can forget everything you just heard within an hour if you don't immediately apply it. So here's what you do next. Pick one principle from this audiobook, just one, and commit to practicing it today. Not tomorrow, not next week. Today. Maybe you'll practice catching your negative thoughts before they spiral. Maybe you'll accept something you've been resisting. Maybe you'll spend 10 minutes in silence to connect with your deeper self. It doesn't matter which one you choose. What matters is that you start. Because here's the truth they don't tell you. You already have everything you need to win every battle life throws at you. not because you're special or chosen or lucky, but because you have a mind and that mind can be trained. And a trained mind is the most powerful force in the universe. The question isn't whether you can do this. The question is whether you will. Will you take control, or will you keep letting life control you? Will you build your fortress, or will you leave the gates open? Will you train your mind, or will you let it run wild? The choice, as always, is yours. If this resonated with you, subscribe for more wisdom that actually works.